Welcome to the Break the Cycle podcast. On today's episode, Elijah and I are going to sit down, just us, and we're going to catch up on the last 2.5, 3 years of our friendship, of our business partnership, all the growth that has ensued, a lot of the difficult moments as well. Really explain what Psycle is, where we're headed, where we're going, express gratitude about the team that we have, and just shoot the shit. So join us on this week's episode.
Yap attack from the two of us to now 22.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we're talking about the founder story, how Danny and I have founded Psycle, Break the Cycle,
How it
the
all
Instagram, the employees, the healing around the United States. We, this week, onboarded 3 new team members, so we were at a total of 22, which is wild. We had about 5 a year ago.
Yeah, if that. 22. How many of those are in Los Angeles? Like 12?
Yeah, like probably half.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's really picked up this
It
past
has.
year.
Yeah.
And I feel like we haven't sat down and really talked through how we got here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty crazy story. I feel like most founders in LA or just founders in general have a crazy story. If you're finding something, there's a journey to find.
For sure. Yeah, the term in and of itself insinuates that there's a journey to be had. And boy, are we on the journey.
Okay, so bring me back to the beginning of the journey, Daniel.
The beginning of the journey.
A long, long time ago in 2022.
Yes, it was. Actually, I remember it vividly, the day that I met Elijah. February 22nd of
2022.
2022. 222. Yes, I remember it vividly. A few days prior, I was strolling the Venice boardwalk. I was actually going to an outdoor place, the waterfront. And this girl is in an acai shop right next to the waterfront. She just waves at me and tells me to come inside. I'm like, who is that? And I go in, and it's this girl from high school that I had known like 5 years ago at least. And we catch up a little bit. She tells me about what she's doing. She's working at that acai shop, obviously, but she's also working part-time at a ketamine clinic. And she says to me...
What a summer job. Acai
Yeah, right?
and ketamine.
Yeah, she really knew how to diversify her pursuits there. Nice little summer stack, needless to say.
It was winter. It was February, but...
It was February.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it wasn't
little,
summer.
almost.
It felt like summer though, because the acai shop was right on Venice Boardwalk, right? So it was like right on the beach.
And the weather's almost better, I feel like,
In February.
in the summer here.
In the midst of June gloom.
Or in the spring. Yeah, but she waits for me to come inside, and she explains that the ketamine clinic that she's working at part-time needs some help with the marketing. They're like a fully, cash pay ketamine clinic, and they just barely started. And this is, when ketamine clinics are a thing, obviously, but it's still really new. I mean, even today it's new, but I was like, whoa, I didn't even know that they were administering ketamine at a clinic. I was like, this is fascinating. So I eagerly told her I would love to go and meet the team there and see if I can't contribute. I was doing some like marketing contracts and help on the side for my day-to-day. And next thing you know, I was pulling up to the ketamine clinic. I knocked on the door. I remember there was a treatment taking place. So it was like super quiet.
I had to walk outside.
And you're like, yeah, let me grab my bag. Let's go for a walk. And then we're going for a walk. We're talking about how the clinic has all these antiquated systems that make it really difficult for people to maintain contact with the clinic when they're interested in getting more information and seeing if treatment's the right fit. And that's essentially what I had been doing for the past few years, is just establishing systems to streamline communication, help people find what they're looking for through technology. And yeah, that was the initial chat.
Yeah. 2. Yeah, it was pretty wild. I was at that point working. I think I started at the clinic probably like 6 months back. And I walked in after like reading about ketamine, and I was like, this seems really interesting. And then it was like right down the street from my house. And I walked in and I had about an hour and a half conversation with the front desk staff or the office manager at the time. Her name was Zora. She was a beautiful British woman. And we were talking about like being a single mother, and like I was raised by a single mother. And we talked kind of about like trauma, and then also like what it's like to work at a ketamine clinic. And a conversation was just so fascinating. And then at the end, she's like, I think that you would do really well working here. And at that time, I was working as a security guard, like just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I was like in the depths of like discovering who I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. I was like, honestly, fuck it. Like, let's work at a ketamine clinic. And it was honestly the best decision that I could have ever made. And I think that it's really funny because Zora ended up hiring Claire. Claire was the one that connected us.
Yeah.
So
she's the one at the acai shop.
Yeah, Claire was the acai girl. So if it wasn't for Zora like hiring me, and then she hired Claire, and then Claire knew you, like I feel like this business would have never started without Zora. And now she's like one of the first team members.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. It's like just a full circle how the universe works. But I mean, I think at that time, I believe that I posted a video or two on TikTok, and things initially picked up. Like I posted one video with Claire. I remember it being like, it was like, isn't ketamine for horses? Ketamine isn't for horses. It's to tranquilize like your trauma or something like that. And she opens it up, the door to the ketamine clinic. It was like 6-7 seconds. And I remember waking up and being like, no, actually when I posted it, it didn't go like viral initially. And then for some reason, like a month later, I posted it again. And like, I remember like waking up and being like, whoa, this is huge.
Yeah. This was either right before or right after we had met.
I think it was right before we met.
Like the week prior.
Yeah. It all happened God's timing at a very interesting time. So that starts to happen. And I'm like, holy shit, dude. Like, this is crazy that shit could take off on TikTok. Like, obviously, you know the power of social media. Yeah. But until it happens to you and you like see it, it's a wild concept. So then that's when people started to reach out. Like even working there after those videos, people would like walk into the clinic and be like, I saw you on TikTok. And it was just like a really crazy concept. But people would be commenting and being like, how do I get help? How do I get treatment? And I was like, I don't fucking know, coming down to Santa Monica. But people were reaching out from like every corner of the United States, every corner of the world. Yeah. And I was like, what do we do? So I remember sitting there with Claire and being like, Claire, like, we got to figure this out. And Claire's like, she was studying like therapy. So she's like, dude, I don't fucking know. And I was like, I don't know, we have to like find someone to help us. Cause like, I know what I can't do. And this is like outside of my scope, but there's definitely like palpable energy here that like, if utilized in the right way could really, do some damage in regards to helping people heal. And then coincidentally, that's when she was like, I actually have a friend named Danny. And I was like, huh. So then we met 222, and we went for a walk. And then the next time we hung out was at your sister's in Venice. And I remember they were also selling at the clinic like these vitamin sprays that I thought were a really cool concept. But I was like, how do you sell these? So I was like thinking about like social media marketing, as in just like posting organic videos. And you were like, hey, there's so much opportunity here. And I remember you went through the slide deck that we had, and you were just like doing all these like little computations on like spreadsheets and things like that. And I was like, damn, like this kid is so smart. And he's sitting on the desk, and then you had all your supplements around, and I'm like, you're like really healthy. And you're like, and you had your kettlebells as well. And then you pulled out a box of sweatshirts. That, or one sweatshirt that you made, and you're like, oh, I made this. And I was like, what? And it was the molecule for adrenaline. And then you're like, yeah, like I made a bunch of these, even like with some psychedelics as well. And I was like, holy shit, dude, like you really love this shit. And you were doing marketing at that time, but you were doing like various clients. And I was like, did you ever think to like apply it to this space? And I just don't think, it seemed like the opportunity didn't come up. And I think that was like a light bulb moment for me, which like our second time hanging out, where I was like, whoa, like A, you're really talented. B, you're passionate about all the things that I'm talking about at the clinic, whether it's the vitamin sprays and you have all these supplements here, or like literally we were talking about psychedelics like every day. And I was reading so much about it. I was reading Michael Pollan. I was reading any type of research I could get my hands on at that time. And then that's when I was like, dude, there's something here. But it didn't that was like March. Really, we got our first client the year after that in 2023. So walk me through what happened in between February 2222 to then getting our first client the following year in 23.
Yeah, I think that year was like really just figuring it like the fuck out. You know, we could sense that there was a lot of potential energy. Obviously, like you had lit that spark with these viral videos, and there was like a lot of energy just being driven towards these substances, these innovative treatments, and more specifically the clinic. And we were looking at how could we capture this and ultimately streamline the healing process for people to find these innovative treatments. Like that was the question that we were trying to answer. And then also, how can we make a living doing this, right? Because as you alluded to, like we both had, I guess, more stable situations. You know, you were working security and you had a degree as well. We could have easily pursued, you know, just a standard 9 to 5. And I was working with like just some corporate AI marketing companies. And we decided to kind of burn the boats because of that intuition, or like that, I guess, intrinsic interest in the space, you know? And
yeah. Well, I mean, we were trying a bunch of shit during that time. Remember, like I had a friend that reached out who came to the ketamine clinic and was like, I'm really depressed. And he tried ketamine and like the ketamine like didn't really work. So I was like, dude, I just think that, and at that point also, when we first met, you also were not in the brightest of spots. So we kind of set up a plan with you and just like accountability, being like, go to the gym, like let's just like try to do all the things in our life to be able to like make it, you know, 10 to 15% better. So we go to the gym, eat right, like, and I think you just needed like an accountability / just like a friend to be like, hey, like you're good, you know? And I think that within February to probably like the early summer, you really got much better mentally than you were once at. And then this guy came in. He was this international kid from China. His dad was extremely wealthy, and he was like, fix my son. And I'm like, dude, I work at a ketamine clinic, you know? But I was like, okay, well, if we kind of did it for Danny, maybe we could do it for this guy. And then I was like, Danny, maybe this is like the product, you know? Maybe we like help people like almost like I want to say coaching, but almost like help them
get better,
rehabilitate themselves in like a holistic way.
We introduced them to like, obviously we took Sam to the ketamine clinic, and then we like had him do like some naturopathic tests as well for his like physical health. We like try to create like a whole, you know, healing treatment protocol.
It was crazy. I remember we got into a fight when we were driving Sam, and he was like on the vape, and I was like, Sam, quit the vape. And he's like, well, I'm going to smoke cigarettes. And I'm like, dude, just smoke cigarettes. You're going to not smoke as many cigarettes as if you hit the vape. And Danny's like, don't tell him to smoke cigarettes. And we're like going back and forth, and we're just like these two random kids in their 20s, and we're like trying to help this guy heal.
That was crazy. It was such chaos. But yeah, that first year of our friendship was really like discovery in terms of where like the demand was in the industry, but ultimately like how we could curate a solution for clinics as well as for patients and clients that helps bridge the gap in education and access. Right. Because
then we started to I continued to post the content. The content continued to do well. And then I had another clinic reach out and be like, hey, can you help me do content for my own channel? And then that was like the initial first service offering. We were like, all right, can we productize basically the content and almost have like a social media management company where we would create short form educational videos like at scale.
And we tried that for a little bit. We did the animations for our clients. We would do the voiceovers.
We created like short form educational videos, so we thought that was going to be the route, and that worked for a little bit. But honestly, we were like pitching these clients, I don't know, my ass from my elbow. I was like confident in the ability that I could figure something out, so I think that was part of it. It was really a fake it till you make it mentality.
For sure. We would just, you know, offer them a retainer to create like X amount of videos for them, and then the videos, even if they did pop off, which we had a few that did, that we posted organically on behalf of our clients, they wouldn't like generate any new patients because, to your point, like organic content is going to be deployed to the world. So we realized that wasn't really the offer, but we had something there.
Because it really picked up. It was like December or January where it was like a really pivotal moment. We got reached out to go to Iceland for the content by a psychedelic conference. But I remember we stayed with my sister in Boston before we were going to go out.
Yeah.
You said we should do an agency model. You were like, we should.
Yeah.
Like,
this was like months before. I was like, dude, or like maybe 2 or 3 months before. I was like, yeah, we should start.
November, September.
Yeah. I was like, we need to like land clients and we need to start like providing a very succinct service.
And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I said no, because it didn't make any sense.
I think it was just like you kind of got snagged on like the internet guru archetype, you know, like these Iman Gadzis, and like you were just like, oh, I don't want to be like an SMMA like agency founder, you know, like where we're just running social media ads and just one of those.
I don't even think I knew what a social. I mean, I knew what a social media ad was, but I didn't know to that extent, you know. But then I remember it was December, and you literally were like, dude, like I'm losing all my money. Like I need to go like potentially home back to Utah and like get a job.
Yeah, I was at wit's end because I was like, dude, we need to go in this direction, or like I need to go get a job, or like, because at this point I had neglected my clients to like, you know, where I wasn't like monetizing my old business. I had poured so much into this. We had like taken classes at Stanford and UCLA. We like knew that we wanted to be in this space, so we took pharmacology at UCLA. We took a class on psychedelics at Stanford. Just continued education, but it was really productive, and there were a lot of like cerebral, like high caliber individuals in there that really knew what they were doing. And we had burned the boats, like we had, and then it was like, dude, we need to find a structure to be able to make a living from healing people.
Yeah, and I think that when you were like, I remember we were at my sister's, you were like, I have to take interviews. And I'm like, no, dude, we just need to commit to this. And you're like, commit to what? And then I was like thinking about it, and I was like, all right, maybe this agency thing is it. And when I get a like fire lit under my ass, like we're figuring this out. So you were doing LinkedIn campaigns before, basically like automating reach outs on LinkedIn. So we were like, why don't you do it on my profile, reach out to a bunch of like ketamine clinic owners. I could just try to pitch the content. So I remember the client that we have right now that is our biggest client I had a conversation with their owner in December before we left for Iceland. Yeah. So this was December, and then they ended up signing on February 2023. And then we got like 2 or 3 clients during that time, and that was like initial. But again, we had no idea we weren't doing ads. We were just like, let's try this. And I think that was also a proof of concept to you to be like, oh shit, this could actually 100% work. Yeah. And I remember being in Iceland, like taking sales calls for this conference, and we're meeting like some of the biggest people in the industry, like Michael Pollan, who I was reading about a year ago. We met him, you know.
Yeah, it was like a wink from the universe.
Yeah. Being like, you got this. I remember we also sat down, we went to like a geothermal pool. And you were like, dude, you have to trust me on this. And it was like me relinquishing control. And I'm like, no, dude, like, and it was an internal battle. But then I was like, all right, yeah, like I could have a partner that I could like trust and I could hand the baton off to. And he knows shit that I don't know. Like, let him take lead. And I think that because you were not in the best spot, like initially, and then it was me kind of leading, you kind of got to the point where you're like, dude, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And I'm like, no, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
I'm like, who am I following? Yeah, I got to step up here. And then, we turned it into a collaboration.
Yeah, it was big collaborative energy come then. Yeah. So that was about 2 years ago. So then, now being literally like 22 team members, like it's been crazy to see the growth that's happened.
I know. Yeah. I couldn't have dreamt it better, honestly. I mean, we're still well on the trajectory, but
still on the path.
It's incredible. Like we just had our first little company happy hour, and it's like just to see how many lives we're affecting and how much the people that work with us love what they do.
Yeah, that was crazy. So I will do like the 30-minute meets with on Fridays with just like employees or the care coordinators, and like 3 people started 2 months ago, and I had my check-in with them, and all of them were like, I am so happy to be here. You and Danny are such like great leaders. You're so empathetic. Like, and I just can't imagine myself anywhere else. And I was like, I swear to God, I almost cried 3 times yesterday. Cause I was like, we're literally doing this. Like we are having a positive impact, not just on their lives, but also think about like the many of other people that we're also helping too. I think one of the things that we also haven't done is like explain what Psycle is and how we work. So do you want to explain how going
Yeah.
from just us posting social media to then and now our most evolved product today.
Yeah, and it's still in the evolution, but I think that this really speaks to like our entrepreneurial spirit. It's like we've really tried to deploy every business model, right? So that's why I feel like it's quite arbitrary what Psycle is from the outside in. Like you look at us, we're an Instagram page, right? Like maybe like a media platform for mental health is probably the initial like thought of what we are, and we definitely are that. But then we, tried to jump into the merch space. We have the hoodies
We have
on.
the hoodies on. That was a fucking fail. I was so dead set.
Yeah,
I was like, this merch is gonna pop the fuck off. Just get it on TikTok shop, and like we posted it. And it's like 8 of the people that I knew.
We're like trying to deploy every business model really, but ultimately right now we're an agency. So essentially what that means is like we work with like about 24 clinics nationwide that are offering these interventional psychiatry treatments. So that's a really important distinction, I think. Like we're not like a psychedelic company where we're trying to push like, like illegal substances or, on the spectrum of mysticism to medicine, like we're speaking with like PhDs, MDs,
psychiatrists,
psych NPs, like all day long, right? Like we're very on the medical side. Needless to say, we work with about 24 interventional psychiatry clinics that are offering ketamine, Spravato, which is the insurance-backed iteration of ketamine. It's administered nasally. And then TMS as well, transcranial magnetic stimulation. So these 3 treatments, there's maybe 1,000 to 2,000 clinics nationwide that are offering these treatments. And so these clinics are our clients, what we do for them.
So they're like treatment resistant depressed clinics. I think that's the best way to describe it. Like
or anxiety or just any treatment resistant.
Like you failed traditional therapy and medication and you're looking for alternative options. Why psychedelic plays a role in this is because psychedelics are like pending approval of FDA for like depression and anxiety. So these clinics are most likely to onboard these substances and then kind of roll them out and get more to the root of people's problems rather than, going to a therapist continually or taking medication continually.
Yeah. And ketamine's like the first like quasi psychedelic sort of substance where it gives you that ability to reflect like externally, as in like you're not just taking something orally and it's not giving you just, some subtle enhancement of mood. It's a very like profound and a very like intense initial experience for most. Has the ability to really catalyze, like how you think, your paradigm, so on and so forth. So ketamine is kind of the guinea pig, if you will, but ultimately, as you alluded to, like psilocybin, MDMA, they're all pending FDA approvals. But I think that's an important distinction to make because we're not just like here just slanging psychedelics, right? Like we're really trying to intentionally be the catalyst of the democratization of these treatments.
Yeah, it's almost like you're prepping for this. Like, when I first got into this and I first got into the ketamine clinic, I was like, oh my God, dude, the psychedelics, especially working in addiction. I was like, how do psychedelics affect mental health? And I was like, wow, they're going to be revolutionary. And then it was like this peak moment where I was like, oh my God, this is going to like be amazing. But then you start to see like the logistics of it. Like I remember people being in the comment section when I would post these videos, they'd be like, how much is treatment? And I'd be like, oh, $2,000 for 4 sessions. And they're like, are you fucking kidding me? Like I can't afford that.
Yeah.
Like, so even the economics around like these substances, like outside of a recreational setting, obviously, like within a medical setting, it's extremely expensive. It's hard to get. And honestly, it's illegal. Like it's literally not legal. So with ketamine, there's an FDA approved, there's an insurance backed version, and it's kind of paving the way. Same, you mentioned TMS, the transcranial magnetic stimulation, like it's a non-invasive device being able to treat your depression.
Yeah.
So like we're almost like 1 foot to what you say, like in the medicine, but then also like preparing for the mysticism. Like we're about to go to the biggest psychedelic conference again in a week or 2.
Yeah, no, we are. But yeah, I think that leaning towards the medicine has and will continue to pay dividends for us because I'm not personally a proponent of just like telling everyone and anyone to like use the medicine of, psychedelics to heal your trauma. I think that that's like, it's something that needs to be administered by a professional in a clinical setting in order to have consistent and sustainable results. So I think that it's really good that we're more conservative as it pertains to like, we're not just here like slinging ketamine. I think that that's like kind of disgusting actually, like that sort of sentiment. I think that we're here to like show people that have treatment resistant issues that these substances can be like a completely new frontier that they're not even aware of, and hopefully help them, alleviate their treatment resistant issues.
Yeah.
So
the agency.
Yeah. So essentially, the agency, we work with about 2 dozen clinics nationwide, and those same sort of videos that you created initially that went viral for the clinic, we'll use those as ads, but we'll put them geo-targeted. So instead of getting inquiries from all across the world, we get inquiries from people that are within drivable distance to the clinic. And then we have a team of care coordinators that call the prospective patients, educate them about the treatment, and then schedule those patients for an initial medical evaluation with the clinic's provider. So ultimately, our deliverable to the clinic is a qualified new patient evaluation, and then our deliverable to the patient is the education and accessibility of these new treatments.
So what that means is basically we'll run an ad. They'll talk to one of our team members. They'll be like, yo, this is what this is about. Do you have the right insurance? Can you commit to like 2 days a week? Because it's 2 days a week.
Yeah. Could it preliminarily be a good fit for you? So
if it is, then we're like, all right, you got to go see a doctor. I think initially we were like, it would be really cool, which is still happening now, to like go almost on to a locator or be able to find a clinic near you. And that's really where the organic content that we do on social media pulls to the work that we do. But yeah, primarily we work with a bunch of mental health clinics, helping them with, on marketing terms, like lead gen, but I really feel like it's education, like being able to actually help people learn about these modalities, because they talk to providers all day, and it's like, how do you find out about something new that could really change the way that you think, or a completely new treatment? It's usually through social media. You're not going to Google something that you don't know. You don't have the prior knowledge to do so. You're going to find it on social media, like a new restaurant, and then Google it and be like, oh shit, like I want to check this out. So we've really systematized the process of like learning about a new innovative treatment all the way to setting you up in the most seamless way. Because I think both of us, like being young founders, are so process oriented. Like if I'm a consumer or a prospective patient, like I want this shit to be easy. Like if I have a fucking gun to my head, or I'm about to jump off of the Golden State Bridge, like make it easy for me. Like make it like stupid simple.
I want to press a button and I want to know exactly what I need to do after that. You know what I mean? Like have every step paved. And so I think that we were able to really disrupt this micro niche, if you will, as it pertains to interventional psychiatry agencies and clinics alike, because of that, our ability to really understand like there's so much unnecessary friction as it pertains to this industry, healthcare in general, and quite frankly, like most industries right now. So I think there's just so much opportunity for entrepreneurs to be able to like just reduce friction from what people want and what people, getting them to where they want to be. Like that in and of itself is, I think, the biggest skill that we are continuing to leverage.
And then as a founder, what do you think your most favorite thing about being a founder is, and what is the hardest thing about being a founder?
That's a good question. I would say like my favorite thing is like just being able to connect with our team members in such an unconventional way. And what I mean by that is like, at least for myself, I haven't had like just a normal job for quite some time, but I just remember like there being kind of this tension and this hierarchy between myself and the leadership at any organization that I was working at, like just feeling like they had more power. Like I had to kind of like not bow down to them, but like I had to just, submit to whatever they say. And now when we're training these new cohorts, I'm like, I want you to like push back on the shit that I'm teaching you, and like the systems and the processes of what we're doing, because ultimately I just want this to be a meritocracy. I want the best ideas to win regardless of who they come from. I want you to be able to have influence on your work and the workflow of what that day-to-day looks like. I want you to feel like you have control, and I feel like releasing that control is so unconventional just in standard work environment. So I really like seeing the team members' eyes light up when they're like, wow, I actually can contribute to this in a significant way. And it's not like I just have to do what I'm told and just, put my head down. So that's like one of my favorite parts. I would say like one of the most difficult parts is that like we're founder funded, if you will, and we have to be able to use a level of discernment that we're still refining as it pertains to the allocation of resources, not only like money, but also like time and energy, more importantly even. It's like, how do we disperse that? What's the most important prioritization, so on and so forth. Like that's the most difficult thing I would say about our day to day right now.
Yeah.
What about you? What's
Yeah, I think it's crazy that we started off with like a credit card with like $2,000.
Yeah.
And now we're like in a completely different spot.
Yeah. It's amazing. And I think like it's crazy to also think about like the initial few months, like February of 23, when we did land our first client, like we were making like $1,500, $2,500 each, you know, for
nothing.
like 3 or 6 months.
Yeah.
Like we're living off of like below minimum wage. Like we could have made more money working at McDonald's.
Seriously. Especially living in Los Angeles. You were like on a pink pedal
Yeah,
bike.
I know. I was like, fuck this. I had to like go bounce back and post up with my parents for a little bit.
So crazy.
Like so many sacrifices were made. And like, you know, meanwhile, my friends like that had graduated all had like cush 6-figure salaries. And I'm like, dude, it's right there. I could just literally go apply, get a job and make 6 figures. And I'd be super comfy and I would feel super secure about my, right? But I think that there's a spectrum between freedom and security, right? And you want to be leaning as far as you can on the freedom side, especially while you're young, right? Like this is ultimately what I want to do. This is my heart. This is my passion. It's my purpose. It's the intersect between my skills, my God-given talent. It's my ikigai, if you will, ikagi. And so I'm so glad that you inspired me in a lot of ways to burn the boats. And you finally acquiesced to just committing to a Model 2. I think that both of those things kind of happened simultaneously. I was trying to push for like, yo, we need to commit to this. And then also you were like, yo, we need to commit to this. But I'm so glad we did, because all the sacrifice is paying dividends now. And there's going to be a lot more sacrifice, obviously. But I'm just so excited for the healing that's going to be able to ensue because of what we're doing. But yeah, what about you? What do you think is the best part and the most difficult part about being a founder?
Yeah, I think the best part about being a founder is the gamification of building something.
Good answer.
I think
I love that too.
Sometimes I feel like it's like growing up, I would always play Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Okay. I'm trying to remember this one.
Roller Coaster Tycoon. It's like similar to like a Farmville-esque. Like you
build a roller coaster, right?
You build a theme park. Yeah. So you kind of like map out your food section. You map out your roller coasters, and you don't have enough money, so then you buy a carousel, and then you like get enough like admins to the park, and you keep growing the park, and then you could upgrade the roller coasters.
Yeah.
And I just so feel like that. Like I feel like my life sometimes is a simulation. It feels like a game. Yeah. And like I have to collect this token, or I have to get this like new hire. I feel like this person's going to come in, or, you know, this client. So there's a real gamification here.
Yeah, there is. It's like FIFA Ultimate Team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you got to get Cristiano Ronaldo.
Got to get the players. You got to collect them. Yeah. Or even like backyard baseball. Like there's a sense of like childlike wonder in that regard. I'm like, building something and it's being so much like fun. There's play in it. Like, and although it's hard and heavy at days, there's play in it.
Yeah, there is. It's just the consequences are like, you know, they're like war. You know, you kind of go to war too. Although you have like the highest highs and so much fun. It's like when, you know, a player gets injured or something like that. Like
you are.
Yeah, it can really, you know, be difficult. But
yeah. So I would say that's it. Yeah, like similar to Farmville. Like I feel like some days it's like I'm just out there tending to my crops, I'm watering my seeds, and I'm picking out my food. So it's cool. There's something like really nice about that. So I think that's like the best. Even like with the team members, I think that's also something I really love is like curating culture. Like that vibe is really important. We actually like as far as our next steps, we're going to be opening up an office in Utah, and I'm honestly quite concerned on like how to implement the culture that we've created here, there, and how you make that speak to each other. Yeah, because I think that part of what makes Psycle amazing with all these like 22 members. And honestly, like I pulled some aside and I was like, this was like the third person. I was like, I really love working here. I think Kyla also was like, I would kill for these boys. And I'm like, it's kind of giving fucking cult energy. You know what I mean? Like it's giving culty vibes, but like culty vibes in the best way is in like people genuinely really love to be here, which is sick. But how do you implement that in like another state? So I'm interested to see how that goes. But like within the building of the business and the gamification, it's also curating culture. Like people are now hanging out outside of work, like Gab and Kyla, or like Zora and Rachel. Like you're seeing these people hang out outside of work and being able to have that like group, because honestly, the people that you work with, you spend way more time with them than your friends and family even.
Yeah.
So like they are in an essence friends and family. And I think that also parallels to like my hardest or the most difficult is like finding the fine lines in between what it means to be a leader and what it means to be a peer. And I think the way that we lead, like the median age here is like probably 27. So we have a few people that are older than us, but it's like, and we're Gen Z, you know, like I think they say that the Gen Z workforce is like lazy, or, you know, they just are not as motivated as past like generations. Sure. I just think, like, would I do that? Like when I was a security guard, I was a fucking horrible employee. They'd be like, can you fax this? I'd be like, how do you work that machine? Like I just played so dumb. Yeah. And I just know that like the Gen Z workforce, how I would want to be able to speak to myself is how I try to speak to the employees. Yeah. But now it's getting to the point where it's like we're becoming more friendly with them, and like what are boundaries? Like how do you effectively like establish like, yo, you need to get your shit together, but then also like have that friend vibe. And I like boxes and I like my buckets and I like shit separate at times. And now it feels like more than ever it's becoming more meshed together. So finding ways to be able to like work through that myself, and then also be able to like actually be the best leader too, right? So yeah, that's like one of the more difficult things that is I feel like coming up right now, especially because we are growing so quickly. Yeah, and also the fact that, you know, our office is here. We're sitting in our office, which is also where we live, which is like the energy is amazing, because like it's the epitome of like the Los Angeles startup idea that I had as like a child. I was going to move to the big city and I'm going to live in this beautiful home, and the garage is going to be an office. And like, I feel like we're living that out, which is crazy. But I think that only adds to the difficulty of like being able to establish like that boundary, because it is, like, it's we're all in the same house, you know, it's almost like a reality TV show or something. For sure. Yeah, it's crazy. It's like Jeff Bezos Amazon. We redid the downstairs. Like there's desks on desks. Yeah, we did this all without like any of daddy's money or no funding. Like no investors. It was literally, we started it with like $2,000 on my Amex, dude. Yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy to see how much it's grown, and it's only continuing to grow. It's like now people are reaching out. Like I was like 2 years ago to think that MAPS, like the biggest like psychedelic organization, would be like reaching out to us to do content at like their conference is fucking nuts, dude. Yeah, I'd be like, you got to be shiting me. Like the clinics that we're working with, and then the team that we're growing, it's like, what? Yeah, no way. Yeah, we have so many superstars, so many people that perform so well in their position. Good humans too. Like even Kyla was talking about her story to other team members, and just seeing them being inspired by like her story. And then it's creating like a group of human beings that really, at the end of the day, want to help people break cycles and inevitably just like make their lives better. And that's like fucking sick. Like we're using new innovative treatments. We're helping people all around the United States. We're putting out good ass content that like hopefully helps people like really like become aware of their fucking problems and then provide a solution. Like that was a big thing whenever I was doing the content. I was like, this is cool and all, but like, how am I going to build a product that would actually like help these people? I'm like, come try ketamine to tranquilize your depression. And they're like, well, I'm in the middle of Michigan. Like, how is that even possible? Yeah. So now that we're actually building it, we have a team of like people that will actually pick up the phone and speak to this person. I'm like, damn, like this is materializing. Like this is becoming real. Yeah. And it's crazy to see in just like 3 years of meeting. 2.5 years of really like actually building, and then like a year of really scaling. Like what the fuck's the future to hold? Yeah It's been just over 3 years now, and to see how much growth has ensued since we started the business technically just over 2 years ago. February 23 was the first client we had, and we met in February 22, which is wild. And everything that's ensued since is, it's amazing to look at. I'm just so excited for what's on the horizon, honestly. I think it can be difficult to kind of balance, you know, work and life. Yeah. All things considered. Even our dynamic too, like starting as friends and then being founders and then like always being together, you know, like it's a lot at times. Although I love you. I think both of us step on each other's toes at times. and being able to like also work through that as like we're also in our 20s trying to like work through shit that has been imprinted for the first 18 years of our life.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can you say that you're a founder of Break the Cycle without breaking certain cycles yourself that come up on a day-to-day, month-to-month basis?
For sure.
You know?
Yeah, I feel like entrepreneurism is one of the best vehicles for personal growth, if not the best, like more so than like even a romantic relationship, so on and so forth, because it really shows you like where your insecurities are. It really makes you come into contact with your ego, really makes you be able to trust and believe in yourself when everything in your environment is telling you the opposite. Like these sort of skills, like, and experience you can't really find through any other vehicle, I feel like, you know?
Yeah. It's a multitude of different things: personal, professional, figure the fuck out, confidence, like various things.
There's so many different aspects. And
I think what's really cool also is like the past 6 months there's been like momentum is so powerful, it's palpable, and there's momentum that's building, and it's like really a ball that's rolling down a hill, and it's just picking up, right? And the farm is getting bigger, the Farmville, and the roller coaster tycoon park is getting bigger, and the FIFA team is getting larger, and the best picks. You feel it, you know? It's almost like it's now outside of ourselves before being like just the two of us and some people offshores.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think that ultimately we have our team to attribute that to. Like they're working on the company's behalf and helping scale the mission, which again is ultimately to
for sure. And I think also each other as well. I think I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, dude, there's no way I'd be able to do this without Danny. Yeah,
it makes it so much easier to have a co-founder. Like I had probably like 3 or 4 ventures prior to this, just like startup initiatives, and a lot of them would pay my bills even and pay my way through college that way, but there was no way to really affect the scale of change that we are right now, I feel like, without being co-founders.
Co-founders. And then over the past week, I think 2 or 3 different people said it, like yin and yang.
We are like opposites in a lot of ways.
Like polar opposite. It's similar in a good amount of ways as well, but more opposite as far as just like working goes, thinking goes. Like the work ethic's there on both ends, but the way that we approach problems is completely different.
And I think that's probably the biggest culprit to the conflict that we have, but also the biggest culprit to success. What we've created. So it's it's difficult to kind of smooth that out on a day-to-day basis, but ultimately we're refining it, and I think we're both committed to the journey, and I'm really keen on listening to this in a year or two and just seeing how much growth's ensued from now.
So 22 mouths, a whole bunch of people healed, and 2 dozen clinics.
We'll
see where we end up in another year or two.
For the time being, just really grateful to have you as my co-founder. Really grateful for this team, for this beautiful office that we have, and for this business, and being able to hybridize my God-given talents and skills with what I'm passionate about, and being able to contribute to people's healing journeys is something that I'm just so grateful for. So shout out God, shout out Elijah.
Shout out God, shout out Elijah is right. Feelings 100% the same, and I really want to heal 1 billion. That's been like the goal. So being able to like quantify that and actually like start on that process is fucking huge. So let's heal 1 billion.
Let's do it.
Till then, if you're listening to this and you are struggling with anxiety or depression or PTSD or
any mental health issue, honestly.
Also, we learned about a new disorder this week or last week. Adjustment disorder. So fascinating. Adjustment disorder. It's almost like when you're adjusting to various life difficulties, changes, moving, divorce, loss of a loved one, loss of a dog. Adjustment disorder. I feel like a lot of people struggle with adjustment disorder as part of being human.
And it gets masked with like depression or anxiety, but it's really just change and being able to alchemize that, and sometimes you need support with that.
So if you're also going through a change and you need a little bit of perspective, You can find us on psychlehealth.com. Fill out the form, top right corner. And we have an amazing team member, one of the 22, that is fielding all of those responses and going to find you a clinic near you that could potentially support you, take your insurance, and be able to get you on the healing journey that you need to be on. Thank you so much for listening. And here's to 2 years circling back to this conversation and being in a completely different spot.
Hell yeah. Let's get it.